What is up? Hey guys, I'm back. I told you I'd be back, and I'm back. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Do I like my camera like this, or do I want to flip it? Let's bear with me while I do some. Does this look better? No, it's mirrored. I think that's better. I don't know. Wow. I'm tired tonight. You ever notice how I come in? I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired. It's because I'm tired. So, earlier I was streaming the live stream. I was restreaming the live stream from, I'm going to move this camera just there. The live stream from Unicorn Riot. And they were showing the protest, the march and the protest that's happening in Atlanta around the Stop Cop City movement that's going on. And I had planned to talk about that tonight. I wanted to talk about that movement and kind of like really dig into it. I don't know a ton about it. Just kind of the stuff I've been watching on social media. I don't know if you've been following it. I've been following it. And so let me see if I got all my streams here. Yeah, we're streaming in 3 places tonight. Okay, cool. From what I can tell, well, I tell you what, instead of doing that, let's do this. I've got some stuff that I want to take a look at. So over here, let's just start with, let me just move my camera to this guy. This is from the Stop Cop City website. Get out of here, Siri. We don't want to do that. We're already having a little technical difficulties. Okay. Bear with me, guys. Okay, so let me expand this out so we can see it a little bit better. And I don't need this over here. Let's get this out of the way. We'll put that right over here. All right, so I pulled this off. This is the actual stopcops.city website. And I thought we'd kind of dig into it a little bit and let's see what they say for themselves. And we're going to do a little bit more reading. So what is Cop City? 381 acres of forested land, 600 plus million of corporate funding, 300 plus million of taxpayer dollars, zero accountability to the community. You know what? Let's move this over here so you guys can see a little bit better. And we'll put me right here. So the Atlanta Police Foundation is building a police militarization facility for police to train in urban warfare. To be clear, Cop City is not just a controversial training center. It is a war base where police will learn military-like maneuvers to kill Black people and control our bodies and movements. The facility includes shooting ranges, plans for bomb testing, and will practice tear gas deployment. They are practicing how to make sure poor and working class people stay in line. So when the police kill us in the streets again, like they did to Rashard Brooks in 2020, they can control our protests and community response to how they continually murder our people. Kwame, Oyufemi, community movement builders. The plans include military-grade training facilities, a mock city to practice urban warfare, explosive testing areas, dozens of shooting ranges, and Black Hawk helicopter landing pad. To learn more about the facility, click here. Well, let's do that. What happens when we click here? Okay, Muskogee Creek tribal members migrate to homelands 200 years after ancestral force maneuver, racial justice organizers to lead march. Okay, this is all stuff from 2021. So let's dig a little bit deeper in over here. There's an NPR has an article I want to take a look at. It was just published, 2 days ago. Okay, so in Atlanta, the clash over plans to build a police training center on a large tract of land has brought at least one death, a state of emergency, and domestic terrorism charges. And the protests were only expected to grow more intense. Police detained 35 people on Sunday after dozens of activists swarmed a construction site and set heavy equipment and other items on fire. They threw Molotov cocktails, fireworks, safety bricks, rocks. Authorities say holding back the construction of a $90 million public safety training campus in the area called South River Forest. Of those detained, 23 were charged with domestic terrorism, the police department said, and added the most of the people arrested are not from Georgia. 2 are from other countries. But groups aligned with the protesters say that the terrorism charges are vastly overblown. They also say police rounded up people not at the construction site, but at a music festival roughly a mile away. So here's the thing. When this protest happened, there was a music festival going off about a mile away, and there was people there camping and enjoying the wilderness at the same time. And it is near this place, this facility, this basically urban warfare training facility that they're building outside of Atlanta. And when the protests, we'll see video of that, started taking place. And I want to take really special look at who the protesters were, what they look like, and frankly, I want to see what the protesters look like, and I want to see who was arrested. I think that's important for us to take a look at. Okay, so of those detained, 23 are charged with domestic terrorism, the police department said. Anyway, so we read that part. Okay, so this was a very violent attack, Atlanta Police Chief Darren Schreierbaum said, adding that his officers got backup from DeKalb County and the Georgia State Patrol. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the FBI are also involved, he said. The battle over public safety training facility called Cop City by opponents touches on Atlanta's history. This is important, guys. It is to be built on land where prisoners once labored on a farm. But the clash is also about the future and the complicated balance between progress and equity. Here's a guide to the conflict and its main players. So we got Lake Charles, the Live Oak landfill. This is South River Park. Constitution Lake, Old Prison Farm, right here. South River Trail, some areas. The land, the training facility will be built in the South River Forest, which member station WABE notes is an area of green space in the South DeKalb County, described as one of the 4 lungs of Atlanta. So it's amazing green space that they still have in Atlanta, right? And of course, what they want to do is turn a bunch of it into literally a urban militarized training facility. In all, the city of Atlanta owns more than 380 acres in the South River Forest area. The training campus will be built where Atlanta's old prison farm once operated after the city bought the land in 1918. People convicted of nonviolent crimes worked there for decades before the farm shut down in 1995. Have you ever seen the movie Cool Hand Luke? Back from the 60s? You know what went on in those farms, in those minimum security farms. The land was identified in 2017 as a key piece of the city's design plan to create a green space and recreation options for the underserved part of Atlanta. The city council approved the plan, but the city's leaders then made a deal to lease the land to the Atlanta Police Foundation to build a large training facility. The project, the training facility, is expected to cost $90 million and take up 85 acres, down from 150 acres in the original plan. It would still dwarf comparable facilities cited in the Atlanta Police Foundation's infrastructure plan. The explosive training center that was in the original plan has been scrapped, but a firing range, shooting house, burn building, and other aspects remain. Critics say the facility would undermine the goal of creating peaceful and cohesive green space. So this is as protesters grow over 2 years. So they've been protesting this for a while. This isn't new. Since artist renderings of the project were released in early 2021, the Defend the Atlanta Forest Group has used Twitter and Instagram to document protesters' activities, including camping in the forest. The group announced a week of action from March 4th, 2011. In December, 5 people were arrested on domestic terrorism and other charges in a conflict that included agents removing barricades. In January, officers shot and killed activist Manuel Esteban Paez Terán, known to friends and fellow protesters as Tortuguita, during a raid in the forested area. Authorities said that Terán has fired at the injured state trooper first, but activists say another officer was the one responsible. More demonstrations followed, and Governor Brian Kemp signed an executive order in late January declaring a state of emergency and putting up 1,000 National Guard members at his disposal. The big backer. The facility is supported by the Atlanta Police Foundation, an independent nonprofit that aims to modernize the city's police force and help it improve training and technology. The Police Foundation is similar to others found around the U.S. that sprang up in the big Homeland Security push after September 11, 2001. But it seems to be unique in size and reach. CEO Dave Wilkinson makes more money than the Atlanta's mayor or police chief, and more than the heads of similar foundations. Opponents say critics are accusing Atlanta, a city that's proud of its urban forest, of canceling its own plan to bring more open green space to the communities that have already put up. So here's what we're going to do. All right. So that's enough of me chattering my brain off. Let's go. I had some videos with some actual professional journalists that did some. Look at that. Bear with me, guys. Okay. Let's go to YouTube. Okay, I had this that I wanted to take a look at. And I've had a little. I want to watch this video. So let's start with this video, this first one from a day ago. It's a little short one. Let's take a look at it.
Construction of a tactical compound would then lead to the destruction of the forest. In January, amidst an Atlanta Police Department and Georgia State Patrol raid of the area, a 26-year-old man was shot and killed. Oh.
Is this target practice?
This is the Law and Crime Trial Network.
Body camera video of the incident was released by the Atlanta Police Department, though it was later determined Georgia State troopers were responsible for the shooting. The victim, activist Manuel Esteban Paez Terán, known publicly as Tortuga, was staying in a tent during the raid. He died as a result of his injuries.
So best I can tell, we've got multiple law enforcement agencies, and they of course, and then we know this happens all the time. One hand doesn't know what the other one's doing, and what happens? Gunfire, gunplay, because we love that shit in this country, right? Gunplay. And they immediately jumped to the conclusion that the weapons were being discharged by protesters.
Hey, watch crossfire, guys. Crossfire, watch the crossfire. Stay on line. Stay on line. Hold on.
Video of the March 5th raid shows dozens of people descending on the area where multiple items were set on fire.
Right.
Smoke spreads across the field as a car and tractor are set ablaze. Multiple times what appear to be fireworks go off. Video catches officers jump out of the way as one erupts near them. Investigators later detained 35 people, saying only 2 people who were arrested are from Georgia. The rest came from across the country and some from other countries.
I want to talk about
All
where they
this
arrested
comes
them
as
from.
the local organization Stop Cop City organized a week-long event called Mass Mobilization in Atlanta. According to the event's website, the call to action was in an effort to stop the construction of the new policing facility, to defend the forest, and to honor Tehran's life. Protesters have camped in the forest for more than a year, opposing the facility's construction. Prior to the most recent raid, at least 14 people were charged with domestic terrorism for interrupting the police's effort to clear the forest. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gold.
All right, let's watch this from Democracy Now!
.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we go to Atlanta, where prosecutors have charged another 23 forest defenders with domestic terrorism after their arrest late Sunday at a festival near the site of Cop City, a massive police training facility being built in the Weelaunee Forest. The arrests followed clashes between police and protesters Sunday afternoon. This comes less than 2 months after Atlanta police shot and killed Manuel Terán, a 26-year-old environmental defender who also went by the name Tortuguita. Earlier this week, organizers with the Faith Coalition to Stop Cop City gathered to condemn the plans to build Cop City and the police department's crackdown on protesters. This is Reverend Kiana Jones.
The reality of it is that the ones who are engaging in violence are the police, and they're from right here in Atlanta, Georgia. You got APD, you got Georgia State Police, you got GBI, you got Georgia State Troopers, you got everybody except the MARTA police, who are engaging in violence and terrorism against the people who are standing against this illegal land swap.
On Wednesday, a group of Muskogee Creek activists interrupted a regional commission meeting and attempted to give an eviction notice to the Atlanta mayor.
Objection! Objection! We have a letter being delivered from the Muskogee Creek Nation on behalf of Muskogee Creek spiritual leadership in opposition to Cop City.
I came all the way on the Trail of Tears to deliver this letter to you folks. We want you to know that the contemporary Muskogee people are now making their journey back to our homelands, and hereby give notice to Mayor Andrew Dickens, the Atlanta City Council, the Atlanta Police Department, the Atlanta Police Foundation, the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office, and so-called Cop City, that you must immediately vacate Muskogee homelands and cease violence and policing of Indigenous and Black people in Muskogee lands. We also ask for an independent investigation into the assassination of our relative Tortuguita, and that the charges be dropped against Weelaunee Forest defenders.
To talk more about the growing movement to fight Cop City in Atlanta, we're joined by 2 guests. Micah Herskins, local community organizer in Atlanta, Georgia, and Kamau Franklin is founder of the organization Community Movement Builders. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Kamau, let's begin with you. Talk about what happened this weekend. I mean, in the national media, it's that basically domestic terrorists attack the police.
This is what I want to hear.
So many of them were arrested.
I want to hear from people that were there.
Yeah, I mean, the national media is basically forwarding or believing or putting out the media and narrative of the police themselves. Nothing can be further from the truth. What we had over the weekend was a festival in Weelaunee Park with hundreds of people gathered. to denounce Cop City, to celebrate the Walani Force. There was a
Which they have a right to do.
in which there was civil disobedience, and there was an attempt to disable property. The police overreacted, came in, chased people down. They then decided to go a mile away and invade the music festival. They broke up the entire festival.
So hear that. They went a mile away. They didn't just defend what was going on. They went a mile away to go attack the campground.
In people's lives, they threw people to the ground, they arrested people randomly and indiscriminately. And as you stated, we now have 23 more cases of domestic terrorism filed. We had a total of 35 arrests at that rally and demonstration. And they continue to put out a narrative to scare people and to criminalize the larger movement to stop Cop City.
I want to go to a forest defender who was at the Peaceful Action and Concert Sunday. They sent this to us, the audio, describing what happened that night, asking to remain anonymous. Their voice has been distorted for their safety.
When police rolled armored vehicles onto the field and approached the music festival group, brought out riot shields, everyone stood together and demanded that we be let go to go home, and only if we went all together. And the police were forced to let that happen. And it was really scary and disheartening. People were afraid. People were afraid for their lives after Tortuguita was killed in these woods, after the violence that the police were showing. They were charging people earlier in the night and threatening to tase them. And then when people stood together and kept each other safe, it was so beautiful. It felt like a punishment for standing up, for exerting our First Amendment rights, for showing a united
It was a
front,
punishment. They did punish you.
to the power structure.
Fucking cops are the largest gang in the world, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And what happened is I'm already putting all this two and two together. They struck a deal. They can't do it themselves, so there's a foundation that's a nonprofit that is basically donating, what do they say, $60 million, and they've, through their cronyism, have acquired, what is it? They say 85 acres. I think it's 85 acres of land. That's greenbelt land. That is, we need these greenbelt lands in our big cities. This land was slated to be used in the community as greenbelt, and it sounds like there was going to, parks and stuff like that built on it. But the city didn't do that, because what they did at the last minute, after the city council already said that they would use that land for that, they struck a deal with this fucking police foundation and with the Atlanta Police Department to build what is essentially, and I think is not without question, an urban warfare training facility. And they're wanting to build and have these spring up all over the U.S. This isn't just an Atlanta problem. My understanding is there's like 4 or 5 of them that are slated to be built in New York. So why are they doing this? Why they remember when we had, remember Antifa was rioting and the police were under attack, and we really have gotten to this place of like, the thin blue line, and this fucking pisses me off, guys. Remember defund the police? And we swung back hard the other way, because the term defund the police was seen as, which I wish we would defund the fucking police, but the term was seen as, basically not patriotic. The election almost swung on it in 2020. But we were told, and we all knew it was bullshit. We were all told that these cities are going to reform police departments after all these killing of young black men and women by police officers that have occurred in the last number of years, that, we were going to have these kinder, softer to police departments. Anybody with half a brain knew that was bullshit. And so the whole time they're talking about this better community policing that they're going to do, there's organizations building urban warfare training facilities. These facilities are being built to train the police better in warfare tactics to handle protesters. Why? Because they know there's going to be more protesting. Probably from both sides of the fucking aisles, guys. I mean, we saw what happened on January 6th, right? You know that scared the shit out of cops. You know that scared the shit out of the cops. And here we are, a couple of years later. Like, we're becoming militarized. Not becoming, we have been. But as time goes by, it is insidious how much more militarized our police departments have become and are becoming.
And it's felt really scary, like that it's possible that we're watching the future of protest for our future protests against police brutality, protests against climate change. We're seeing it crush right here in front of our eyes.
Again, that is a forest defender who we're not identifying. But Micah Herskin, can you talk about the history of the Stop Cop City, as it's known, movement?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a movement that goes back years. When the proposal to build Cop City and to destroy up to 380 acres of forest land first went public back in 2021, there was immediately a really broad community coalition that formed, against Cop City. People were canvassing neighborhoods, petitioning, flyering, showing up at city council. On the day of the final vote, where City Council voted to approve Cop City, there were 17 hours of public comment from just local community members saying, we do not want this facility to be built. We need this forest land. It's critical for our communities. It's critical environmental protection. And of course, the City Council approved it anyway.
But they don't believe in environmental protection.
And since then, the movement has continued, and it's only grown, especially in the last year, as police have escalated their tactics, escalated their raids and their violence. Support has, come in from all over the country of people who recognize that this is absolutely an Atlanta issue, but it's also an issue that's going to impact people across the country and across the world.
Of course it is.
Kamau Franklin, has there been any update on the police killing of the forest defender known as Tortuguita? His mother came up from Central America. What has happened, and what has the further investigation found?
Well, so far, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation has stonewalled releasing further evidence about what happened that day. The family is persisting. They've hired attorneys. They've gotten the release of several videotapes. But other than that, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which, has no real legitimate authority or right to investigate this violent crime by the police, because they were part of it. And so we think that is why an independent investigation is needed. The information that has been released so far backs up completely the claim that organizers and activists and forest defenders have made. One, that the police gave no warning. There's no videotape whatsoever of the surrounding scenes in which you can hear any warning by the police. Two, the police claimed that there was one shot given, or one shot by Tortuguita, and then there was a return of fire. The blast of fire that you can hear on the videotape that was released, a body camera.
Did they find a gun? Did he have a gun?
From the scene was
or
a
did they
burst of
gun?
fire, and they themselves commented that it sounded like suppressed fire, which is code word for police fire. So we continue to protest, to demand an independent investigation that has nothing to do with the authorities who were involved in the murder of Tortuguita, because we think that's the only way we're going to find out the truth about what took place.
I want to go to Reverend Kiana Jones, who we referenced earlier, a member of the Faith Coalition to Stop Cop City, speaking at an Atlanta City Council meeting Monday.
What will your legacy be? you so-called legacies of black misleadership sitting up here on this council. Let me tell you something. Representation is not enough when you don't represent the people who elected you. The people came out and spoke clearly. And let me go to the Bible one more again and say that we are here as clergy to cry loud and spare not. We are opening our mouths and crying with a loud voice to say that we don't want Cop City. I live in East Atlanta. I don't want Cop City. I got 5 black children. I don't want Cop City. I like breathing clean air.
Yep.
I don't want Cop City. I
Yep.
want to drink clean water. I don't want Cop City. I don't want Black Hawk helicopters
Yep.
landing around the corner from my house. I don't want Cop City.
I don't either, ma'am. I don't either.
My neighbors don't. My granny don't. She's
I don't
been
want
in
it for
her
them.
house almost 50 years, and you suckers will never
Yeah.
get it through gentrification because we knew what to do.
Yeah.
So again,
Good for
that's
you.
Reverend Kiana Jones, a member of the Faith Coalition to Stop Cop City. There's also the environmentalists who want to preserve the forest. There are indigenous people, the Muskogee as well. And you have those who are deeply concerned about police misconduct. This, Kamal, this facility, this police training facility, would be the largest in the country. And has any part of it been built? Do you really see yourself stopping this?
Well, the struggle continues. No part of it has been built. They've cleared off some forest land and they've gated off certain parts of the area. But to this stage, 2 years later, nothing has been built. And that's because of the fortitude, the diversity of that movement, the tactical diversity, the strategic diversity, the fact that we continue to press forward even when the mayor of Atlanta, unlike the mayor of Jackson, the mayor of Atlanta, who teams up with the right-wing white supremacist governor of Georgia to suppress organizers and activists in the city and to work with the governor to give state terrorism charges. We have a weak mayor, we have a weak city council that gives into right-wing demands. But that does not, again, stop this movement from moving forward. We are going to continue to press to stop Cop City. We're going to continue to try to bring economic pain to Atlanta by doing what we can to stop the Democratic National Convention from convening in Atlanta. And Atlanta is also attempting to get the FIFA World Cup there. We're going to do everything.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to get people on the left to come together on something? Like over here, way on the left. This is my left. Okay. Camera. Over on the left, like, and I'm way over there on the left. If you know me, you know that. I'm way, can't even see me. I'm so far over there. People on the left, we don't get along with each other. We think we do. We try to. No, we don't fucking try to. But we don't get along with each other. And that's why we lose a lot of the time. Because of the infighting and we eat our own young. I mean, you can see it in American politics, right? So basically what your average person thinks is a leftist or a liberal in this country is really a centrist. They're a capitalist. That's what this is, by the way, this capitalism. This is just a means to oppress. That's what this urban warfare facility is. It's better training to train the people who keep the boot down on the neck of the poor. Because it's very important that they do that. But for the people of faith-based organizations, environmentalists, indigenous people fighting for racial justice to all come together for a couple of years to protest against something in their city is phenomenal that could even happen. And to boot, they're actually getting something done. Nothing's been built for 2 years. There's got to be frustration in these police departments. There's got to be frustration with that police foundation. Why do you think the overreach and calling these people domestic terrorists? You know, when you're labeled a terrorist, you don't have the same rights as any other like criminal. I want to go to another video that I want to watch. It's a little bit longer one. It's now don't freak out, guys. But this is from Al Jazeera News, okay? Al Jazeera News. You might get a little different take than you normally get. But let's take a look at what they have to say. I'm looking for a different take. Not the typical.
Welcome to the stream. I'm Josh Rushing. Public opposition to a planned police training center in the U.S. city of Atlanta is growing after the police killing of an environmental rights activist made national and international headlines. Community environmental activists have for months sought to block construction of the facility, as highlighted by a recent AJ Plus film.
Occupying this forest is how activists are resisting the construction of a $90 million state-of-the-art police training center protesters call Cop City. The facility will be developed on one of the largest green spaces in Southeast Atlanta, which has a history of oppression.
They just want to go in and bulldoze everything and then write the history the way that they want to write it.
The fate of the forest is up in the air as the police and forest.
So the main way they're blocking this from being done is they're occupying the space, the green space, by camping there for like a year now.
Both refuse to back down.
All right, joining us today from Atlanta, Kamal Franklin. He's the executive director of Community Movement Builders.
Kamal's getting some.
That's a collective of Black community
today,
residents and activists advocating for neighborhoods next to the planned facility. Also joining from Atlanta is Jacqueline Eccles, co-founder of the South River Watershed Alliance that is trying to protect the land in which the planned police center will be built. And joining us from New York, Anna Cook is a field producer at AJ Plus, who's been covering the story. Also, you are at the table. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, see that comment thing over there? We have a live producer there waiting to get your comments to me so I can get them to our guest. So I invite you to be a part of the stream with me today. All right, let's start with Anna. Anna, what drew you to this story?
Yeah, no, there has been a lot of attention on Cop City. It had been bubbling since, especially after 2020, the nationwide Black Lives Matter protests, where people, not just in Atlanta, but nationwide, called for defund in the police, an end to police brutality. But then in Atlanta, we saw with this proposed facility, an increase in funding for the police. And so that drew a lot of attention, obviously a lot of opposition, and people have peacefully, occupied the forest as a way to protest against building this facility. But I think what's so interesting about this Cop City is that it's drawing a lot of national and international solidarity and attention because it's at the intersection of environmentalism, racial justice, indigenous rights. It's also just brought a lot of grassroots community activism to try to protect the forest. They want to nurture and preserve this park, this public park and forest.
That scares the shit out of the cops and the city and the mayor. You got these people from different parts of the left coming together and occupying the space. There's got to be so much fucking frustration, which I'm personally glad for, within the city of Atlanta.
For the benefit of the community.
Well, let's start with as close to the community as we can, and then we'll work our way out through these issues. I want to play a clip from your film. This is actually with a local resident.
Residents who live nearby say they were blindsided by the city's plan to expand the massive police facility.
This happened literally in my backyard. No one has reached out to me. I do see when they ask for votes. To them, it may not be a forest, but to somebody else, it does mean something. It's saying it's true. One man's junk is another man's treasure. But these are the same individuals don't even live in the community. They don't live in the community. They don't care. What they care? They don't care at all. These same city councilmen, would you allow it in your community?
Kamal, I want to pair that with something that I was reading on, here, I think it's on the Atlanta Police Foundation website. We can actually go to my computer and see it. Here, I'll highlight one of the goals that they've set here is to set a national standard for community engagement neighborhood sensitivity and devotion to the civil rights of all citizens by law enforcement. Now, I'm listening to that gentleman who was in the AJ Plus film, and it doesn't seem like they're living up to this particular one, Kamal. Can you touch on this?
Sure. I mean, not only they're not living up to it, their job is to use that as propaganda, as they basically run ripsaw over this community and put this facility where no one has asked for it. As the prior speaker said, this facility was jammed through via the city council and the mayor's office. No one in that community was asked or interviewed about wanting this facility there. Over 70% of the respondents who called in when city council passed this resolution or to give this lease said they did not want this facility built. Over 90% of the people who live directly adjacent to the forest have said that they do not want this facility built. Instead, the City of Atlanta, the Atlanta Police Foundation, and the Atlanta Police themselves have basically jammed us down the throats of this, not only the citizens next to the forest, but everyone in Atlanta coming out of the 2020 uprisings. So this is on itself is a slap to civil rights, to not only the Black community, but in our estimation to the larger movement, which part of this facility is meant to stop future organizing against police violence.
Of course
it's almost
it is.
Orwellian the way they describe it, and not just social issues, environmental issues as well. And I just want to note here, we did ask the Atlanta Police Foundation for a comment here, got no response from them. We also asked the City of Atlanta and got no response also. But I'll let them speak for themselves like they did on their own website there. This here, if we can go to my computer again, this is from the City of Atlanta. It actually has the South River Park highlighted on here, and it's called part of the Lungs of Atlanta. Jackie, will you touch on that, the environmental importance of this area and what's at risk with the center?
Sure. This is the largest piece of green space remaining inside I-285. That's the belt line around Atlanta. So it's 300 plus acres. So it's a massive piece of property. Mm-hmm. And so from that standpoint, it is vital to climate change, to dealing with the effects of climate change, from the standpoint of air quality, from the standpoint of protecting Entrenchment Creek that flows through it, just from a quality of life standpoint. So, Atlanta is developing rapidly. It's a very pro-development town, and it's losing its tree canopy at an alarming rate. More trees are being destroyed every year than are being planted, and even those that are planted are 2-inch caliber. So it'll be a long time before they are really any viable use as relates to impact on the environment. This green space in Southeast Atlanta, is critical to the city itself, not to the residents of Southeast Atlanta, South DeKalb County, but to the city as a whole.
Hey, I want to bring in someone from our audience here. This is G Girl, and she says, "Who owns the land originally?" And Anna, that's touched on in your film. Let's play a clip here about the history of this land.
I want to hear about that for sure.
Atlanta's proposal to construct a police facility here speaks to the land's painful history. The site was a prison farm until 1995. Prisoners there were subjected to harsh punishments and slave conditions, including poor sanitation, nutrition, and overcrowding. Some critics say claims of unmarked graves have not yet been properly investigated. Before that, the land is thought to have been a plantation that enslaved at least 19 people. It was originally stolen from the Muskogee, who lived there until the U.S. government forcefully displaced them to Oklahoma. Today, both activists and tribal members have reclaimed the indigenous name as Willani People's Park.
A fascinating history for this piece of land, Anna. I'm curious, is the Muskogee Nation, are they involved in what's going on there now in any way?
Yeah, so I mean, as you can see, this piece of land has a really painful past. And local advocates and community members have told me that there has been basically no genuine effort on the city's behalf to try to make amends or try to even study this past and the potential crimes that were committed on this land by the US government, right? And by building this facility on.
We don't do that in this country. We pave shit over and forget things ever happened. We don't do that. And what's worse in this case is it's not like they're going to pave it over and build housing, right? Or what if they? I mean, I could see it. I wouldn't want to see it, but like maybe they were going to build low-income housing, or the parks like they were supposed to, or something that had some sort of use or value to the community as a whole. But what they want to do is build an 85,000 square or acre fucking shooting range, right? And not a shooting range that you get to go use. It's a shooting range that is set up to fight you. It's set up to fight you and take away your rights and keep your ass in line.
And they're really trying to cover up this past, not make any amends at all. And so the Muskogee people who are based in Oklahoma, they have been frequenting the forest, trying to explore the idea of getting their land back and trying to reclaim their homeland again. But I think that the U.S. government, the city, has not reached out to the indigenous tribes, and so they have failed in that way. But also the people who are protesting and occupying the forest, they're trying to, help the Muskogee tribe, get this land back. So that's why that they have named it Weelaunee People's Park, which is the original Muskogee Creek name of the forest.
Yeah, we actually reached out to the Muskogee
really
Nation
quick.
as well, and they were going to provide comment today for the show, but they're being hit with a massive winter storm right now that's knocked out a lot of their power. Their schools are closed, so they weren't able to do it. Come on, I'm sorry, I jumped on you there.
Oh, no, not at all. I just wanted to add really quick, too. And so the composition of the opposition of building Cop City is really wide. Not only is it from folks, Muskogee Nation that used to be there, but it is from the Black community. It is from the environmentalists. It is, as you stated, from people who are defend the forest folks. It is from civil rights advocates. It is from people from the community. So there's a wide breadth of folks who have been supporting or demonstrating against the.
Let's jump to some of these other parts. I want to talk about, let's see what we got here.
DeSantis protected here is supposed to be. You brought up two clips, and we actually have both of those ready. So let's start with the forest defender. And is this the person that you were just talking about?
Forest defenders have demolished equipment that they say attempted to destroy the forest.
It's like become kind of a relic of significance, just to show, kind of what happens if people want to come and destroy the forest. It just shows that we're not going to cooperate with the police or talk to the police.
It's why not everyone agrees with the way defenders have been resisting. Some of them have embraced militant tactics, vandalizing police and private contractor vehicles. Other critics say they do not represent the communities living in Southeast Atlanta.
Okay, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we are here trying to defend the forest.
Anna, is that?
So
he's since been arrested?
Who was interviewed. Yeah, so the second protester who was in that clip has now been arrested. And I mean, both of you in Atlanta, you guys can speak to this, but now there has just been less presence in the forest because of the increased police activity. I think it's interesting, in the beginning of the clip, we saw that I said, the fate of the forest is up in the air, but it seems now that as police are clamping down on these protesters and arresting them aggressively, the fate does seem that they are going to move forward with this construction of the facility. And they were very clear with me on this. The city of Atlanta, I know, didn't respond to you guys, but when I was doing the report, they responded to me and said that they plan to finish building the facility by the end of 2023. And now that it's the beginning of the year, I think that is the reason why they have really ramped up this type of aggression towards protesters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was reporting on this at the end of last year, I saw video footage from those occupying the forest. They had videos of the police, you know, raiding the area, cutting down trees as these people were sitting inside trees, you know, endangering their safety. So I'm sort of like not surprised to see the rise in aggression from the
Of
police
course, the
against the
frustration.
protesters.
All right, and I want to
This is
bring in
why I
that
wanted
city
to point
council. Go for it, Kamal.
So really quick, I just said this is why I wanted to point out earlier that the violence from the police has started since the very beginning of the protests, and they've only escalated their tactics. All of the folks arrested so far we've had 19 arrests now of people charged with domestic terrorism. All of the folks who were arrested in the forest were arrested while sitting in trees or tree huts and or near their campsites. None of these folks were engaged in any activity whatsoever that can even be closely connected to any acts of so-called terrorism or even vandalism at that particular stage. These folks were arrested while they were in trees. These folks were at most committing the act of civil disobedience and nothing more. And so these are just scare tactics to criminalize the movement against Cop City and nothing more than that. And I think that is what we're at the stage where we're at, where I agree with Anna, that at this stage, what they want to do is to criminalize the movement, get everyone out the forest, and so that they can build as fast as possible because they see that folks are beginning to watch and to see what's happening, call in, protest even more, both in Atlanta, nationally and internationally. And then lastly, I think it's important, they try to keep talking about that the protesters are outside agitators. And these are the very same public officials who less than 2 weeks ago were honoring Dr. King. Dr. King, who did what? Who went around from city to city, from state to state, protesting unjust laws, committing acts of civil disobedience. And those very same authorities of that day called Dr. King a what? An outside agitator, a criminal, even a terrorist even. So the fact that they're trying to use the language of Southern segregationists is in fact for us a ploy to try to switch the intention from what's happening in terms of that militarized police base that no one wants to what's happening in terms of activists coming from out of town who we welcome to do protests and to organize against Cop City.
Yeah, and side note for our international audience, Atlanta, where you guys are sitting, is the home of Dr. King. Jackie, I want to bring you in because I know that there's the watershed there, and I know that that's protected by some clean.
Guys, it's so obvious. Oh, I can't get my mouse over there. It's so obvious what's going on. We scared the shit out of them the last couple of years with those protests. They say one thing and they're doing another. They say you read it earlier in how they were going to reform policing, but what they're really doing is building military, urban war, military style tactic training facilities. What are they training against? U.S. citizens that don't see things the way they see them. That's what they're training against. They're training against you. And just because you might be somebody that supports the police right now, when things change in governments, see, when you get a little older, you'll find out society changes and its values change. And maybe all the things you hold dear to you right now are out of fashion. Then it's you that's in the gun sight. Do you not see that? Thank God there are people up in those trees and in that forest keeping the building from happening, from proceeding forward. I just hope that it doesn't get worse with this police violence, but I bet you it does. I bet you there's going to be more and more arrests of what do we call it? Domestic terrorists. There's going to be more and more of them. All right, I think we dug in enough tonight. I've live streamed quite a bit today. I'm gonna go do the dishes. I'm going to go do the dishes and clean up the kitchen because I just ate dinner before I started my stream. And then I'm going to watch a little television and go to bed. We're going to come back to this and follow this story, see how it goes. We're going to find out how we can support these people. And what I'd like to do is I want to dig in and find out what cities more of this is occurring. Where else is this happening and it's just not in the national news right now? So with that, I want to tell you, hey, I actually have some messages. I never got some chat. Oh, look at, hey, how you, Dark Side 916. Hey, Steve, if you and I cut a tree down with someone and someone in it, we would be in jail for attempted murder. But I do wish other people would, but they want the warm, comfy ideal that government is our buddy. That is so fucking profound. He's absolutely right. If we cut down a tree with someone in it, we would be in jail. Right? Right? All right, I'm going to call it. Thank you, my man Spooge, Dark Side 916. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Be well. Take care. Remember, I love you. Namaste. Oh, I was supposed to go. I didn't even go to my last. See how I did that there? Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. I need the views. I forgot to tell you, I'm at 150 subs. 150 subs. 15% of the way to 1,000. That's my goal, to get monetized. So maybe this thing will pay for itself and I don't have to pay for it anymore. Anyways, with that, good night. I love you. Have a great night.